I mean, right now I'm thinking which of the stories should I share? I think I have two, and I will touch briefly on the two. So
Okay.
the first one for me was when I got married. You know, when people get married, some people will plan that 2-3 years down the line they don't want to have babies yet or so. But in my own family, you then have to be pregnant, and so it became, you know, an interesting journey when the first year, second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year, you know, nothing was happening. And so for me, in between that time, I could have, there were a lot of open options for me, but I was also very intentional and deliberate on how I wanted to approach that journey. And for me, the fact that I didn't know how long the problem was going to last, I think also helped shape the decision that for as long as I don't have control and I don't know how long this is going to last, I want to make the best use of this time. So in between that time, I think I had my hike and I had my C's. I had 2 certifications around that time. I started my CFA, I started blogging. And in between blogging about fertility issues and the journey, I found out that I started to build a community of people who had similar issues that, you know, we started reaching out to each other. So the key thing for me is a lot of time, people who knew me then, I was in Abuja. And beyond all those things, I had other activities. We had a sister who was a Black American that married a Nigerian that, you know, organizes some sort of acrobatics and all that. I was involved. I used to do a lot of burger contests and shawarma contests. I had different activities everywhere. So there was really no time to sit down and wallow in self-pity that, you know, I was on a fertility journey. But one thing I know that stood out was, first, I'm from a Christian background. There was always that option of, oh, maybe because maybe Islam is not the right journey for you. Maybe you can come back to church and all that. So I had to deal with that. The other journey is, you know, family members seeing you and expecting that each time they see you, they want to see you in self-pity, in such a situation that everybody will know that something is wrong with you. That wasn't my situation, because I knew that I was praying. I knew I knew the actions that needed to be taken. And then I knew the ones that I couldn't, that were uncontrollable factors for me that I had to hand over to God. But the ones that I knew I could be deliberate on was ensuring that I don't wallow in self-pity. How can I make the best use of the time? And I can tell you, by the time the fertility journey ended, and I used to tell people, why would I go through the route of being a miserable person that by the time the child comes, what they meet on ground is a miserable mommy? I don't want to be that kind of mommy. So for that, it was very intentional. And alhamdulillah, my prayer got answered, but I was very intentional about, you know, maximizing the opportunities that journey gave to me. The other one is very recent. 2021 was a bit of interesting drama. And I completed my MBA in 2020. I got back to Nigeria in December. And so for me, it was like, oh, considering my experience with about 14 years in financial service, financial accounting and all that, with an MBA from an international school, I was just going to get a job. So jobs were coming, but they were not the ones I wanted. And so 7 months passed. I eventually got what I thought was the right one for me. And within the first month in the job, I knew that this was not what I wanted. So I was really troubled. And I was troubled because, you know, a different variant is coming. You're starting to see another, you don't know what the economic situation will be the following year. How easy will be to get a job? How do you wait for 7 months for a job? You get into it and then you leave after 1 month. I was really troubled. So I struggled through the first month. I struggled through the second month. By the third month, I made up my mind that, you know, I can't keep struggling. And in between all of this, everything I had said at the earlier part of this discussion, there were things I was doing. I was praying hard. I was fasting. I had the mindset that Allah knows, but in between, I was questioning Allah that, you know, I fasted, I prayed. If anything was going to come my way, it shouldn't have been this. I mean, the job it gave me a lot of mental stress. I had a lot of anxiety. It wasn't just what I wanted based on what I had asked God for. And so by the third month, I tendered my resignation. And around that time, my former boss then called me and said, Aisha, what is it? Why don't you want to come back here? You know, you never had any issue with us here, just that you wanted to go and add value. And then we started the conversation. And I kid you not, within 2 weeks, everything that happened within 2 weeks were things that, I would say that if I was to put a timeline to it, it would take me 6 months. And it was a better offer. The underlying conversation was, what are you doing with these people? Is this something we can replicate for you here and all that? And that department was created for me to come ahead and all that. So when I now look back, I tell God that, okay, I've been having a discussion with my boss from the beginning of the year, but I told him, yes, I want to come back, but some of the things I was doing before I left, I don't want to come back to it. So it might have been tough for him to say, yes, I want Aisha to be back, but I don't know how, in what capacity I want her to come back to. So, but then the conversation then came when I got that job to say, what are you doing for those people? Oh, we don't have anything here. So if we create this department for you, would you come back? I said, yes, of course. And so that was that for the first 7 months, it was a lot of questioning, allow why this, and then something happened and I said, oh, this is not what I wanted. And then he ended with, a very good story. So for me, everything I said at the beginning of the conversations were things that I had inculcated into the first part, my fertility journey, and then the second part, how 2021 went for me. So resilience doesn't come in, there's no format to resilience. It's just on how you constantly recharge and rebuild yourself, to face the constant situations that will come your way. So those are the two stories that I think that comes to mind easily.